1980 to 2008, you had wealth running amok, especially at the top, increasing wealth inequality, stagnating wages for workers, vicious attacks on trade unions, and zones of abandonment, killing fields, hoods of suffering in poor communities that were generating unbelievable levels of social misery. No serious talk of a job bill targeting poor people or working people, but of course, very, very tender and gentle treatment of investment bankers when they go under, the corporate welfare, the kind of corporate socialism that has characterized the United States in the last 45 years, including the Obama administration. I thought Barack Obama would allow us to shift from the greed to serious talk about fairness, from the indifference to poor people and working people to serious talk about compassion, and from the politics of fear, dividing American people to politics of hope. That's what he talked about. We heard the Democratic rhetoric, we heard the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. being acknowledged, and yet when we looked at his economic team, they came straight out of the Wall Street oligarchic playbook. When we looked at his foreign policy team, they were recycled Clintonites who come straight out of the neo-realist playbook, so that there's no fundamental shift in priorities in regard to policies, even as the tone has shifted in language. The last State of the Union, there was no reference to poor people or poverty. The first time a State of the Union was even ever presented or written since 1948 with no reference to poor people. How could that be when he's got Martin Luther King Jr.'s bust staring at him every morning saying, "I died resisting American imperialism in Vietnam because I love Vietnamese babies and peoples as well as Americans. I died because I was trying to organize poor people, sanitation workers in Memphis. I died facing a vicious white supremacist Jim Crow system where the government itself was following me every day and knew I would be shot." That's the Martin Luther King Jr. who's staring every day in the Oval Office and saying, "Get out of that golden cage. Get out of that sunlit prison. Connect with the working people and poor people out there. Why are you so much in the pocket of the Wall Street oligarchs and the corporate plutocrats? Don't use my legacy in this way. Don't abuse my legacy in this way." And so what you actually have is someone who uses a democratic rhetoric, which at times is sterling, but the same technocratic policies rooted in geopolitical interests and corporate interests remain at the center, and this is part of the problem for us in the United States. Both parties, deeply colonized and dominated by corporate and oligarchic interests, don't allow for serious examination of substantial cuts in the military-industrial complex. So the debate about budgetary deficit is confined mainly to social programs, mainly to those programs that affect everyday people. It's very much like the healthcare debate, where it was very clear that they met with the pharmaceutical and the private insurance companies. They made a deal, so it ends up a major giveaway for profits for both pharmaceutical and private insurance companies. In the face of terror, we don't opt for an Al-Qaeda. We produce Martin Luther King Jr. He's still murdered, but we don't opt for murdering other innocent people. But at the same time, we do have a righteous indignation that says that even if we have to die, we're going to die with the truth, we're going to die with integrity, we're going to die with dignity, because we can't stand the hypocrisy of the American empire, of dictators, or anybody else who overlooks the humanity of foreign working people. The jazz man and the blues man does what? Looks catastrophe in the face and resists with compassion, with sensitivity, understands the difference between justice and revenge, refuses to drink from the bitter cup of bitterness, but has a moral outrage or righteous indignation, a holy anger against injustice across the board. That's why the Black Freedom Movement has never been a movement solely concerned about black people. It's been concerned about truth, concerned about justice, concerned about love, concerned about fairness, and concerned about the operations of power.